You're still watching Midday Live. I'm bringing you more on President-elect Donald Trump and how America is taking his win. So very soon we'll be speaking with Steve Miller. He works with VOA, that's Voice of America over there. Hello, can you hear me, Steve?
I can hear you. Good day.
Good day to you too. And how's America taking his win?
Well, there are a lot of reactions across the country. For many people, this was an unexpected victory for Donald Trump, the new president-elect, and they're still trying to come to terms with the results of the election. But as we saw yesterday, as the results were starting to come in, there were some unprecedented turnouts in different rural locations, or in some cases, ex-urban locations, that really swung the vote towards Mr. Trump.
Now, in coming to terms with it, has reality set in?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm asking that in coming to terms with it, like you mentioned earlier on, has reality set in for them that the elections are over, we have to move on? He's giving his speech, which is welcoming for America and the rest of the world.
As you mentioned, Donald Trump said that, that he's going to be the president for all Americans, that together he's going to try to bring the country together. Now, some are still trying to get behind the new president-elect, trying to understand what that means. During the campaign process, Mr. Trump said that he was going to pull back President Obama's health care initiative, that he was going to renegotiate some trade deals, look at the Iran deal, and a lot of progressive programs that the Obama administration put forward. So a lot of Americans are questioning what that will mean for them. So it really remains unclear as to what kind of administration Mr. Trump will have. The Republicans did manage to secure the majority in both the House and the Senate. So with the Republican in the White House and Republican in Congress, it does look likely that whatever the Republican agenda is put forward come January, that Mr. Trump will be able to execute some of his plans.
Now, looking at what has happened, we've touched on his speech and how America is reacting to it. But are we seeing two different people now, the old Trump and a new one?
Well, I think as the candidacy evolved for Mr. Trump, he came on the scene as a very brash individual, and in the waning days of the campaign, you started to see him tone down a lot of his rhetoric. You saw him to stay more on script, read more from the teleprompter, try to appear more presidential. And as we listened to his victory speech in the early hours of the morning, he continued that. So he's trying to begin a process that is sorely needed in the United States, and that's try to bring the people together. After all, this was one of the most divisive elections in recent histories, with two candidates that were on many cases of polar opposites. And the job of whoever won the election, in this case Mr. Trump, is he's going to face a very difficult challenge to try to bring everyone together to move the country forward.
Now, even before we move into mainstream America and all that, we saw the polls. The opinion polls, the media did their very own polls, people on the streets had their concerns, and it was as if Hillary was taking the lead. And then the elections is over and Trump wins. Is it that we can't really make do or believe such polls when they come up, or the Americans were just not honest?
Well, I mean, when you take a look at polls, it's always an educated guess. And in this case, what we see here is the margin of error for the popular vote was very close. Going into the election, the best polls out there had anywhere between 1% and sometimes 4 or 5% in favor of Mrs. Clinton winning the election. But when you look at the key battleground states, they were very close and very contentious. And what we saw in the results is that in these ex-urban and rural environments, Donald Trump was able to bring out the vote. He often referred to a silent majority of Americans, and some analysts now believe that that's the population he was speaking to, these Republicans and these people who came out and vote. Some other analysts overnight speculated that we had two candidates who were not really liked by the majority of Americans. And some people are speculating that when given a choice of either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and you're going to cast a vote of someone that you don't like, many people chose Donald Trump with the hope that he was going to break up the system. If we look back to the primaries, both Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, and Donald Trump came on very strong because they were seen as political outsiders trying to shake up the system. And some people believe that one reason that Donald Trump won the election is because he can bring some kind of change to the system.
Thank you very much, Steve Miller. He is with the Voice of America. You still watching Media Live. Remember, we'll bring you some more details and updates on the new U.S. elections and the aftermath.